Welcome to Love You Longmont. I'm Linda Bond and I'm so excited today. There's a hot time in the Old Town. We have Alyce Davis with us, and she's the executive director of the St. Vrain Historical Society. And her office is in the Hoverhome, and you may notice Alyce is in costume because she is also in the play Hot Time in the Old Town. I thought before we started talking about the actual event, we should talk about the St. Vrain Historical Society and how all of the historical societies in town work.
Well, thanks. So we were incorporated formally as a nonprofit in 1967. We were existing prior to that much earlier as just a less informal organization, and I believe that was around the 1920s when we officially kind of started. It was kind of, as I understand it, it was just a whole bunch of historic families here in Longmont that got together and decided that our history of Longmont and the St. Vrain Valley should be preserved. So our mission is to assure a future for our communities past. At the core of our mission is the 4 historic properties we own: Old St. Stephen's Church, Old Mill Park, Historic Hoverhome, and the Hover Farmstead. And so those form the core of our programming, and there we perform historical tours, interpretive programming, and of course the preservation and the work of all our properties are central to it.
I think that there's a misunderstanding that all of these properties are owned by the city and they're therefore supported by the city. Is that not? That's not true.
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit, so it's mostly we support ourselves on our own, although we do get grant funding from the city, from the state, through the Historical Preservation Fund and other local foundations, but primarily it's us, donations and membership that support our properties.
And it isn't just like you're doing something vague and amorphous. You have a roof to maintain and plumbing and things that people don't take into account when they think of historical sites. Yeah, a lot of people, when they think of historic preservation, they think of, saving buildings and that sort of thing, and that part is certainly important, but a lot of people, we forget that, after we save a historic building, you're correct, there's plumbing, there's maintenance, there's insurance, there's a whole bunch of other things that are central to keeping our properties open and safe, and a lot of work you have to do up front to prevent further deterioration. I heard a talk once about historical preservation, and they say every time there's a wave of prosperity, all the old buildings are torn down and a new hotel or something's put in, unless somebody intercedes. Now, the Hoverhome is in perfect condition. How was it saved?
Yeah, so Beatrice, she first approached the society pretty early on in our history to see if we wanted to take over Hoverhome. We were fairly new as an organization and thought that would be too much of a burden. So we said thanks, but no thanks. And she then gave it to the Methodist Church with the stipulation that once they were done with it, we would get first right of refusal. And that happened in 1997. And we decided, yes, it was the perfect time, and we stepped up and we paid $500,000 for it in 1997.
My goodness.
And we got some help with grant funding, and then we took out a mortgage and we paid off that mortgage in record time. So we own it free and clear. And
that is so exciting. Well, today we're going to meet some of the Hovers. We are so lucky that Eyes of Longmont at the Senior Center did some video for us. So we're going to meet the characters. Right now, let's find out about Charles Hover himself.
Hello, I'm Charles Hover. Welcome to our home. If you're lucky in life, you find the place you're meant to be. For me, this is that place. This land, this house, this family. When I gaze across my fields at Long's Peak, I can see it changing all the time, glowing soft pink at sunrise, shining bright with snow at midday, and then fading to dark purple at sunset.
Charles Hover was important in Longmont, but he was also important to the entire state.
Yeah, so He had a pharmacology background. That's where he started business, was down in Denver, a wholesale drug company. And but I think his deep down passion was farming. He studied a lot. And when there was a disaster in his business, basically the whole internal structure of the building collapsed. The building was okay, but inside all the floors collapsed. He decided in 1902 to purchase some farmland, and he did that out here in Longmont. He purchased 160 acres and was able to use his pharmacology background to help maintain the land. But because of that and all his studies, he became very notable. He was asked to be the governor of Colorado.
Wow.
I don't think that was his kind of lifestyle, so he passed that up. But
He wasn't just casually asked. I mean, it was in all the newspapers. The big editorials were all backing him, saying, an honest man, a good man. He said no.
Yeah, he was a very humble man, very well respected in the community here in Longmont, all around Colorado. I remember reading one thing, I forgot what group it was, but it had to do with his farming background, and they said when Charles stands up to speak, everyone listens.
Oh, how nice. That's wonderful. Well, one of the great assets that he had was his beautiful wife, Catherine. In fact, she was known as one of the most beautiful women in Denver. Let's meet Catherine Homer right now.
That dances should come sometime. You dance it one time. The dance called a Charleston made
I am Catherine Homer, and I am so glad that you were able to join us for our Sylvan Supper. We have been out in the gardens cutting the roses and the flowers, getting ready for our event.
Catherine was talking about a Sylvan Supper. Now that's what's going to happen August 25th, 26th, 27th at Hoverhome. It's going to be a recreation. But most people don't have any idea what a Sylvan Supper is.
Yeah, so Sylvan means it pertains to into the woods or wooded area. So imagine when Hoverhome was built in 1913, 1914, it was, well, there was the largest grove of catalpas there, still is. And so I imagine back then it was pretty wooded. So I believe that's where it got its name. But basically Sylvan, or this Sylvan Supper, it's basically, I call it a fancy picnic. So when the Hovers did it, they had tables for guests. They had rugs for guests to sit on who wanted to picnic. We'll just have tables at the event.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was a really neat event and a lot of fun. So it was done as a fundraiser for the St. Stephen's Episcopal Church that the Hovers belong to.
Well, this will have some of Mr. Hover's favorite foods, is that right?
Yeah, Mr. Hover's favorite meal was fried chicken, a corn on the cob or a corn dish, and then cherry pie.
Homemade, fresh cherry pie, and that's the way the whole event will end, from what I understand.
Yep.
I love the things that you've done with Beatrice. In fact, many people just assume you are Beatrice, even though you would be well over 100 years old. Let's see Alyce portraying Beatrice Homer right now.
From the time I started school, I had a group of close best friends, and we called ourselves the CS Girls, or Central Stickers. They often assist us during our Sylvan Supper events, so you'll probably meet them.
I'd love to talk about the group of friends that you, as Beatrice, mentioned. What kind of a group of friends was that, and how did they do?
Yeah, so they were a group of 7 girls, and they met in Central Elementary. They called themselves the CS Girls, which later we came to find out that meant Central Stickers. And they were a lifelong, close-knit set of friends. So I have pictures of them in my office way back in their like 80s, 70s.
Oh,
so
how wonderful.
they stuck together and were just a really close.
They were really stickers because
Yeah,
they stuck together. Well, people who come to the Hoverhome event will meet 7 people playing those young women, and they'll be guiding everyone to the tours. Now, people have asked, how does this work? Is it a play? Is it a dinner? It's a supper, and then there'll be 7 different places where these guides who play the central stickers will take people. And in this version, they are all flappers. and young and friends of Beatrice. So they'll go from Catherine to Beatrice and take people around the farmstead. And I think one thing we should mention is this is at the farmstead, not inside the house. Isn't that unusual to have an event out on the farmstead?
It is definitely newer for us. So we have not featured the farmstead as much as we wish, so this is the perfect opportunity. A lot of people don't even know it's back there when they come to see Hoverhome, so we're really excited to show it off.
It's pretty interesting that it will even utilize the farmhouse that's right there, and that's the original farmhouse.
Yep, that was the original farmhouse. It was there when Charles purchased it in 1902, so it's probably one of the oldest buildings on the property.
I really like Aunt Minnie A.V. Wilson. She was the reason that they managed to get together, Mr. and Mrs. Hover, but she was an interesting person herself. So why don't we meet Joan Peck playing Minnie A.V. Wilson.
Even nowadays, in 1925, some people think Longmont is a dusty little town with hogs at one end and sugar beets on the other. But I learned differently. When Charles and Catherine bought their land in 1902, Longmont had about 2,000 people, 3 weekly newspapers, 1 daily newspaper, an opera house, and no saloons.
One of Beatrice's greatest accomplishments was learning Braille, and she was inspired by Aunt Minnie, who was losing her vision. Now, if people are in the house, can they actually see some of the things that Beatrice used?
Yeah, so in the house we have some of Beatrice's Braille Bibles. I'm not sure if she transcribed those herself, or if they were just referenced, but we have those there for guests to view. We also have a slate and stylus. It's just a big slate with kind of a pen that people can view. It's very, she probably started out using that. And then we also have a Braille typewriting machine, which looks a lot like a typewriter, but it has 6 keys. And that didn't belong to Beatrice. We got that just to kind of show and tell people what kind of machinery she was actually using.
Well, the books and the reading were very important to all the Hovers. And I think that's one of the parts of this recreation, is that some of the characters, like Aunt Minnie, will recite some of the poetry that they loved in the 1920s. There are 2 people who were really important to the farm who aren't family members, and that's the tenant farmer and his wife, the Zieglers. So right now we're going to go to Catherine McGurry, and then we're going to go to Sam Mullis, and they're going to portray the tenant farmer and his wife.
Every year, the Hovers give a party called the Sylvan Supper. There's all their friends from town and church and all the committees they're on. And our farmhouse sits right in the middle of it. Miss Beatrice makes a point to come make sure we know we're invited. Well, it would be pretty embarrassing for us to be right there in the middle, pretending like we're not there. Still, there might be some folks who wouldn't think of including us. I get out our Sunday clothes and give the children a spit and a polish. Then we walk around this farmstead just like we're part of the family. See what I mean about being so lucky to live here?
I work this land for Mr. Hover. I'm Carl Ziegler. For 3 generations, my family has been tenant farmers. My father was a tenant farmer, his father was a tenant farmer, his father's father. 3 generations of Zieglers working the land with no hope to ever own it. This generation is going to be different because of Mr. Hover and me.
In an interactive historic place such as this, people will do things. For example, they might crank the crank on the ice cream maker. They will probably pull weeds when they meet the tenant farmer. Who knows what everyone else will have them do. But people will be in small enough groups that they can actually meet the characters. How do you feel about that?
I'm personally excited about it. I believe that whenever you can incorporate people into it, the better it is. Rather than just merely watching and viewing history, you're going to be a part of it. So I always think that's wonderful when you can incorporate people, and I think you learn better that way too.
That's good. Well, some people have asked about the costumes. Now, your outfit is wonderful. It's true to the time period, isn't it?
Yep, it's true to the time period as much as I possibly could get it. It's not authentic 1920s. But
right, or it might not be in good shape right now and you're going to be roaming around.
Yeah.
But do people need to wear costumes?
We're encouraging people to wear costumes if they so wish. If you don't wish to do so, you're more than welcome to show up in your modern everyday clothes. Just come in what makes you feel comfortable. But if you want to come in 1920s costume, it'd be a lot of fun.
And
so.
people who are in costume might have the chance to win the best dressed guest. And what an honor that would be. Tell all your friends. Well, one of the things that was important in the 1920s, even in Longmont, because everybody had radios, everybody loved music, was the brand new, exciting, fun music of the times. And that's going to be a part of this also. We have John Maris, and John plays ukulele, and he's going to be there, and he's going to start you off with some of the music of the 1920s.
You've probably heard that there's a hot time happening in places like New Orleans, New York, and Los Angeles. But I'm here to tell you the Roaring Twenties haven't left Colorado behind. Here in 1925, we've got pep, pulchritude, punch, and presentation too. Well, there's going to be some dancing tonight at the Hoverhome, and I'm going to be right in the middle of it. Maybe you don't know the steps, but I'll bet you anything you've heard this hot little number.
Well, the Charleston is so much fun, but most people don't know how to do it. And they don't have to do it, again, to be a part of Hot Time in the Old Town. But we have Brynn Letterman, and she lives in Loveland. She's a dancer. She's going to be working with John, and they'll be in the old mill. Is that what you call the building?
Yep.
And they will. He will play music, and she will teach the simple steps of the Charleston. And as people come through, they can learn just a little bit of Charleston. It's a lot of fun, and it makes the whole thing more exciting. Do you know how to do the Charleston yourself?
Not yet, but I'll learn.
But you will learn.
Yep, I'll try.
So at the very end, people can come back when they sit down and have their cherry pie. They'll have a little bit of Charleston music, and maybe they can do some of it. That would be fun. Well, we had an experience downtown. Second Friday every month is a lot of fun. So we went to Second Friday and took a group of the Flappers, and they're going to show, as they were learning from Brynn, the one in the purple dress, how to do the Charleston, including myself.
Swing your right foot forward, step, back, step, forward, step, back, step, forward, step, back, step, forward, step, back, step. Then you keep doing that, and then if you want to make it even more fancy, you can use your heels like this. So you can
Thanks to Blaine Robinson for coming downtown and filming that, and we really appreciate that. I would love to say the names of the young women who are going to play the Flappers, your Central Stickers, your friends. Erin Davis, and Erin is your sister. She owns her own dress. Erin Bogart, and she will be playing Elsie Manter-Cobb, Aaron Steed. So we have 3 Aarons, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why that name is so popular, but we do. Giselle Lehman, who's so much fun. She's going to be exciting, and she'll be one of them also. Jessica Goldberg will be playing Lois Flanders Noble. Gabriella Rainwater, Tricia Phillips, and then you saw Brynn Letterman. And they will be taking people around. So as people come up, they'll get a little ticket from each one of the flappers, and that is the group they're going to be in all evening, and they will walk from place to place and interact with the characters. So everybody will be going somewhere all the time, and some people will be learning the Charleston, some people meet Beatrice, some people will do something with the flowers with Catherine, so it should be a lot of fun. There's also something that's been added, and we're really pleased. One of the car clubs from Loveland and Fort Collins, they are into Model Ts, and some of them are Model As. It's interesting to me that Ts are older than the As, but they're going to be coming on Sunday the 27th, and they're going to be bringing some of their authentic, absolutely perfectly restored, not changed but restored cars, and people can get to see the cars. They'll be available for viewing at about 1 o'clock, and then lunch will start at 1:30. But I think we should probably talk a little bit about the fact it'll probably be hot. Don't you think maybe people need hats or parasols or something?
I would definitely suggest hats, parasols, sunscreen. Yeah, just come prepared for the weather. So.
But for the most part, at the 7 stations, there'll be shade, but you're walking in and out of it.
Yep, there'll be shade. So.
I don't know about other people, but I could earn about 20 new freckles on a day like that.
Me too.
How do people find out about this?
Yes, well, they can call me at the office, or they can visit our website at stvrainhistory.com. And yeah, so.
You know, I suspect there are even people who don't know how to spell St. Vrain. So how do you spell St. Vrain Historical?
Yeah, St. Vrain, STVRAIN.
I see, historicalsociety.com. And they can book their tickets right on that site.
Yes, they can purchase their tickets right from the website.
And the cost?
The cost is $35 per ticket.
And they're really not children's rates, because probably I wouldn't say it's an adult show, but I mean it's going to be more fun probably for adults than for children.
Yeah, all are welcome, but it probably will be more, you're correct, it'll probably be more fun for adults or, yeah.
Yeah. I want to mention too the art here on the set. This is by Sarah Browers Brown, and both pieces of art are by her. And Sarah is going to come to the event, and she's going to be dressed in 1920s, and she's going to paint in the style of the 1920s during the event. And she is going to donate whatever she paints, and people can have a silent auction and buy whatever she paints right there on the spot. So that should make it fun, I think. Why don't you tell us again when and where? I'm always surprised when people say, well, where's the Hoverhome? It's on Hover Street, but
Yes.
Tell people where it is.
So Hoverhome, its official address is 1309 Hover Street, so that's on the corner of Hover and Mountain View. So that 7-Eleven, if you look, you'll see it right across the street. That's how I find or reference it, but yeah, so.
And it's at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock Friday and Saturday, and then 1:30 Sunday.
All right. And people can call and get tickets. We want to thank the Eyes of Longmont. They are at the Senior Center. It's a group that anyone can belong to, and they shot that wonderful video. And in fact, they shot an entire 36-minute documentary. The actors all had to learn their lines early. And we also want to thank Barbara Howe, and she's in charge of that group because she's in charge of public access here at Channel 8. So that makes it kind of fun. What would you like to add about the show or about the upcoming event?
Let's see. Well, I guess I want to add, if people are interested, I want to encourage them to get their tickets early. So we're selling out pretty fast now.
Isn't that exciting?
It is. It's very exciting. It's a good problem to have. We have so far maybe about 35 tickets left.
Wow.
We're allowing for a little bit of overflow, but not too much to burden the actors or the volunteers catering the event. So I encourage, if people are interested, definitely call and get your tickets early because they're going out fast. Friday's already sold out. Sunday's fastly being sold out.
Wow.
And then Saturday's getting close too.
And people will have a full meal and they'll see a show. They might learn the Charleston. And if they've dressed up, they might win a prize for dressing up. So you want to invite everyone to Hot Time?
Yes, so I'd like to encourage everyone to come. So the proceeds benefit the St. Vrain Historical Society and our mission. It costs a lot of money to run for historic sites. We love it, but it does take a lot of fundraising. So it's a great time. It's a great event to come have fun and to support a wonderful cause. So I encourage everyone to come.
So that's Hot Time in the Old Town at the Hoverhome on Hover Street, 1309 Hover Street.
1309.
$35 per ticket, and there are the two numbers you can call. You can call 303-776-1870, or look up www.stVrainHistoricalSociety.com and join us for Hot Time on the Old Town. Thank you so much, Alyce.
Thank you.
And Beatrice, 2 in 1. And we'll see you next time. Hot Time in the Old Town, and love you, Longmont.